Welcome to Firewood, fella. So next week is April, which means it's going to be the start of Campfire wood season and camping season. And just the other day, I got a phone call from one of my campers at the campground saying that they're going to be there this weekend, saying that it's open for them to do seasonal maintenance and stuff like that, to go through, clean up stuff, to go through, clean up the leaves, the sticks. And a gentleman last year said that he was kind of too busy doing a bunch of other stuff, and he said he'll get a hold of me this spring right away to get a load of wood, because he has a ton of racks. I want to say he can probably hold 2 full cords at his site. So he gave me a call saying, hey, do you have any wood available? I'm like, yeah, I do. I just want to make sure I can check on it, make sure it's all good. So right in front of me here is all maple that I split back in October. And behind this here, there's a bunch of mixed hardwood, box elder, maybe some maple, some birch, a bunch of stuff that's been laying around for probably a year or two sitting on pallets that my dad split up over Labor Day weekend last year. And the reason why I know all this, I keep a tally in my phone, Google Sheets, and I have a list of all the racks I have. So I just go north to south, so the top of the list is the furthest north. So that was done in September of last year of 25. This is done in October of 25. And this stuff behind me was from December of 25. And we got some more stuff in December further back. So I found one of the bigger pieces of maple. It's all checked on the end grain. This is probably one of the bigger pieces of maple that I have in this rack. So I'm going to split it open and we're going to test the moisture on it. This is unsplit, sitting in a rack since October. Almost 12% just sitting on the outside. So I'm guessing the inside's probably going to be about 18% is my rough guess. We got this split open here. Feels a little damp, but it is also very cold. It's fairly cold outside today. It's in its low 30s today. So if you think about it, wood actually does dry in the winter. Granted, we haven't had a ton of snow this year. We had an overall good snowfall year. We had a lot of snow in December, but then it got warm again around Christmas and it all melted. We had a couple smaller storms here in January and February, and then one big one in March. So it made our totals look like we had a really good winter, when in reality, we didn't. So all this wood here is a bunch of ash that we split from my buddy's house. We brought it back in trailers and we split it here. So this was done at the end of January. It's been about sitting around here for 2 months in the middle of winter, and this stuff was fairly dry to begin with. And this is an outside piece, bigger piece here. So right around 13%, and I figured it was fairly dry to begin with. This stuff, some of the logs were cracked all the way through when we were splitting them. Got her split in half now. Going right in the center here. 19% in 2 months. Granted, it's ash, so it dries very quickly. This isn't surprising to me. Now, what I am curious about is the oak behind you guys, because that came from a log truck that was mostly barkless. We split this back in October on the Blockbuster processor that Chris brought over. So I'm going to take a peek at some of these and see what these are reading, because I'm just out of curiosity. So like I said, this is all the stuff from October. This is one of the barkless pieces of all red oak here. So right around 16% on the outside. And I'm guessing the middle of this here is probably going to be over 20. So the inside's right around 19.5, 20%. So kind of is ready to burn, but I'll wait and let it sit here for most of the summer, hopefully. That way then we'll have a bunch of oak ready for the winter. Now the real question is, how wet's the stuff that still had all the bark on it that was fresh cut that we just did the next day? So behind me here is the pile of wood that we processed with Chris when he brought the Blockbuster. And this stuff's been sitting just like this since October, in a pile on the ground, in the dirt. It wasn't a priority at the time to get it stacked. Now that it's spring, we got most of our racks full, so we're gonna add a couple more racks and get this stuff stacked off the ground. This spring here is the goal. So all this stuff was all fresh cut red oak with the bark on it, and it was pretty crooked stuff. So this is just one piece I grabbed off the side of the pile. So that's 17%. And I guarantee you, just feeling the weight of this thing, it's heavy. I can guarantee you it's still wet in the middle. Let's check out this piece a little bit bigger. 18.5% on the outside. Let's see what the middle's like then. Now this is the middle, and I can tell it's wet. How wet, you ask? Let's find out. About 5% wetter than the outside of it was. I thought it was going to be a lot higher than just 5%. A piece this big maybe would have been okay, but most likely I would have split it down anyways. So this is about the size of my wood typically, and this stuff is going to be ready to sell in a year, even with the bark on it. Stuff like this is the size of my wood typically. Now obviously the stuff on the ground is going to be a lot more wet than the stuff on top of the pile. So when we're stacking it, we're hopefully going to be able to put the stuff that's on the ground on top of the pile so it gets the most sun, the most wind, so it can dry the quickest. Now let's take a peek at what we got behind me here of the same wood that we ended up stacking before the snow flew. So this rack here, the rack behind us here, and the one over is all wood that was split from the log truck that we stacked over here back in the fall before all the snow came down. Part of this rack fell over, so I can just tell already that this rack is pretty dry. But now the bigger pieces like this was on top of the rack behind us over here. So I'm going to split this open here, and we're going to see what the moisture is on the inside of this one. But on the outside of it here, so the outside's about 17.5%. So I'm going to split this open and see what this one is. So that's 23%, and the center of the tree is right here in the middle on this one. So this should be the wettest part of the whole log before it was split down. So again, I believe most of this wood that we came off the processor back in October is going to be ready for this upcoming heating season in October and November. So that being said, what I'm really curious about is the stuff I just split up here last week. This was off the same log truck. It was cut back in January, and we split it down just last week, which was the end of March. Now I'm not going to split this stuff open just because of the fact that it was just split open a week ago. So only a week after being split open, it is sitting at 19.5%. My guess is if we go back with what we were just seeing over here of a 5% increase, this has got to be at least 24, if not 25% moisture, if not higher yet, because it hasn't had the time to dry down yet. So this is why it's important to split the wood down as quickly as you can so it can start the season and dry out properly. All the rounds behind you guys aren't drying at all. It's just drying from the end, which isn't going to really say us much. So it's really important to split the wood down to a proper size that you want to burn it at or sell it at. So I don't exactly know if this stuff is going to be ready to burn this fall, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it here because I do keep a tally of when I split all the stuff down. So it'll be interesting to see exactly when this stuff will be ready to sell. So I'm going to go help my dad load some wood, and we're going to go on a delivery. So in the truck bed here, we got all ash. And then in the front of the trailer is all silver maple. And this stuff was split back in October, like I said earlier in the video. And then back here is all this mixed hardwood from September. And this mostly box elder. I've seen some mulberry in here, some walnut, some buckthorn even. So it's a little bit of everything. And this, I did increase my prices this year. So all this wood, the full cord is $360 with the same amount of money I was getting from my oak last year. Because I raised my prices for my mixed hardwood to $120 a face cord. And because this is a repeat customer to a campground I go to quite a bit, and we're heading towards that way anyways to do some work, I'm offering them a free delivery as well. So we got 1, 2 racks, 3 racks. And the fourth one tipped over on us when we were after we finished stacking it. The ground gave out and just tipped right over. He said not to worry about it. Firewood fella, logging off.